The question for both of you, 50 first, why this project? Why now?
Well, we waited until after the results of the trial to release the project, but I started like almost 5 months before I was able to find Alex, and finding an Emmy Award-winning showrunner and director is detrimental to the project being really well put together. So, they should expect it to perform like Reggie Jackson's did.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the why it's coming out now is we wanted to wait, to get through all of the legal proceedings, the criminal trial, and it spans four parts, and it spans over 30 years of pop culture, his life. So it took some time, to say the least, to put all of this.
50 Cent is dominating headlines once again, but this time it goes far beyond entertainment drama. His explosive documentary has unleashed a wave of stunning allegations involving Diddy, leaving both fans and industry insiders reeling. Even more unsettling, 50 insists that what the public has seen so far barely scratches the surface. According to him, critical details were deliberately left out, and if those missing pieces ever come to light, they could fundamentally reshape the narrative and send shockwaves through the entire music industry. One thing is certain, this story isn't over. And what comes next may change everything.
My favorite villain? I kind of like Diddy. When people say I'm a troll, I say, I don't know why you're saying I'm trolling people. I'm doing what you...
In a recent interview, TK Kirkland offered new insight into the long-simmering tension between 50 Cent and Diddy. According to Kirkland, Diddy's decision to date 50 Cent's child's mother was no coincidence. It was calculated. He argues that the move crossed an unspoken line every man understands, a boundary rooted in respect and loyalty. With Diddy's immense fame, wealth, and global reach, options were never limited. Yet he chose someone deeply tied to 50 Cent's past, a decision Kirkland believes was deliberate, and one that only poured fuel on an already volatile feud.
I just want to say this. People are talking about how 50's attacking him and he's being petty. Now, keep in mind, out of all the women in the world that Diddy could have gotten with, he chose 50 Cent's baby mother.
It's a lot of variables to this particular question. Because I talk to a lot of people, older, younger, even my daughter, who's 22, she didn't understand it. So people give their opinion based on what they've experienced and their environment, people they've been around. So to the people that understand boundaries and respect, I always tell men you should never date another man's girl if you're not aware of it. If you know it, then it's wrong. But if you're aware of it, it's like basketball players that we talked about this before. Football players who date the same women.
Yeah.
And won't go outside the box.
Yeah, and I've never done that.
I've never
in
done
my
it.
life, I can honestly say at 52 years old, I have never dated someone.
According to TK Kirkland, this was no innocent misstep. It was a calculated act of disrespect. The move raises a deeper and more unsettling question. What does it reveal about Diddy's sense of loyalty and personal boundaries? As 50 Cent's documentary continues to peel back the layers behind this alleged betrayal, each new revelation leaves the public more stunned than the last, and increasingly aware that far more may still be buried in the shadows.
Was an ex of a friend of mine.
Right. I've never done
Sometimes
that.
I found out a girl that I'm messing with that also messed with this other dude that I know in the industry, whatever. That's a little different after the fact. But I would never go into it if that's was his girl.
It's really the wrong thing to do. I've been presented in my lifetime. Women have come to me and they'll say, oh, my ex-husband, or my husband that passed. And when I was in my 30s, I leaped and did it because I said, if I died and was in a relationship and my baby mom was fine, ain't nobody gonna think of me. They're gonna date the person. So this is just some real shit. As I sit here today, knowing that there's an ocean full of women.
Billions. There are billions of women.
Billions.
Right. And that's the whole thing about Diddy. Diddy's not some nerdy dude who just happened to find some IG model and, oh my God, this is the girl of my dreams. Man, he has access to women all around the planet.
And that's his reputation.
But he went after the baby mother of one of his rivals.
Exactly.
Someone who had been taking shots at him for years.
Absolutely.
On purpose.
And he went after her knowing that they had beef.
Right. And slutted her out. Just slutted her out. Having a whole basketball team run a train on her.
I totally
the whole
agree.
thing, right?
Totally agree.
Right.
But his reputation from when he worked at Uptown, I'll be sure's girlfriend.
Oh, Kim Porter.
Right. That's his reputation.
I'll be sure his baby mother.
Baby mama.
Yeah.
Then Eric Serm, his friend, the one that had she had his baby, Mia. So he's had a reputation of going after people.
Tupac's ex-girlfriend. He got a baby with her too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my point that I'm making to the men listening, well, if you don't understand this, then you just poorly educated and don't really have common sense. It's a no-no.
In a revealing interview, Gene Deal, a close associate of 50 Cent, leveled sharp criticism at the documentary, claiming his ideas were used without proper credit. Deal alleges that key elements of the project were built on concepts he had previously pitched, raising serious concerns about creative ownership. He says he worked closely with the producers and played a meaningful role in shaping the documentary's direction, only to later see his contributions go unacknowledged. These claims cast a shadow over the project's legitimacy, fueling questions about how much of the documentary is truly original, who controls the narrative, and whether credit was given where it was due. And with 50 Cent's undeniable influence behind the project, the criticism carries added weight, intensifying the debate over authorship, transparency, and accountability behind the scenes.
The documentary had to be downsized. You understand? I don't really believe that, because a documentary is a documentary, and they could have had 45 minutes, they could have had an hour, to each one of those. You understand? They left out certain things. He said they even left out the one about Sarah Chapman. You understand? And for whatever reason, he probably left out a lot of other different stars too. Situations that they could have spoke about. You understand? I have a problem with the documentary, and I'm just gonna let you know that the reason I have a problem with the documentary is that they know that they took my ideal. You understand? They know that when I came to them, I laid out what they should do and how the documentary should be. You understand? She could say whatever she want to say. I talked to those producers before I even talked to her. They wanted to know what I had, what I was bringing, my pictures, all that stuff like that. And I told them about me, Tim, and Kirk. You understand what I'm saying? And how it would go. They did the same thing. This ain't the first time they stole from me, man. If you look at the Notorious Big, if you watch the Notorious Big, that part about the shoes, I had that in my book. And I was talking to K.O. Copeland. He was one of the writers of that movie. And I told him about when I let Big use my shoes at Soul Train Award. You had this old flunky ass dude, Mike B, get on Angie Martinez's show and talk about, yo, Big, he wore mixed max shoes and he went out there and performed. When you go look at the film, when you go look at Big performing that on that show, ain't nothing mixed match about them shoes. There was $800 Maury's, size 14D, Big World 14E. E means that his shoes is a little wider than mine. He struggled, but he put them on and he went out there and performed. Those was my gators.
In a candid conversation, Gene Deal claims Diddy has exhibited a troubling pattern, dating women closely connected to his rivals, suggesting motives that run deeper than romance. From alleged involvement with partners linked to Tupac Shakur to connections tied to other high-profile adversaries, Deal argues these choices were strategic, not coincidental. According to him, the behavior raises serious questions about intent and the use of personal relationships as leverage within larger power dynamics. The implication is unsettling. These relationships may be less about intimacy and more about control, shaping narratives and asserting dominance. 50 Cent's documentary underscores this idea, drawing a sharp line between Diddy's personal life and professional conflicts, and framing both as part of the same calculated playbook.
You understand? They did a little skit trying to disrespect me in the movie, you understand? And they said something about, oh, we got this shit from Big Sexy. He knew they called me Big Sexy, you understand, because I used to play ball with them at the Reebok on Columbus Avenue on Saturday morning. And on my arm, it had Big Sexy. Right there, Mighty. That was my pen name for Felon Magazine. People didn't notice I used to write for Felon Magazine. You understand? And because I was a parole officer writing for Felon Magazine, I named myself Big Sexy. You understand? So now, they go and steal my ideal and what I was writing in my book on the Notorious. Now they did this on this doc. That's what they do, bruh. They don't they don't care, bruh. They did the same thing on the BMF things to my man who just did a book. His name is Alexander Newell out there in Detroit. They call him KK. Him and the brothers used to run around on the west side in the Brewster Project. They from the Brewster Projects. Him and his brother, what's Alex's brother name? Dangerous. They got him played in the movie as the name Dog in that BMF movie. Alex's brother name is Lawrence. I think it's Lawrence. Dangerous. Wasn't playing. When they got him up in the video, going into the game on the BMF thing and killing somebody in front of everybody in the basketball thing, he was that type of dude. Alex used to come to Harlem to see me. He actually took me to him, my man Kevin Thigpen. We all went to Atlantic City. We seen the show Beauty.
Mark Curry has recounted a series of unsettling experiences that, in his view, expose a controlling side of Diddy, particularly within his personal relationships. Curry describes an incident in which Diddy allegedly erupted in anger at a producer for nothing more than speaking with Kim Porter, a moment he says revealed an intense sense of possessiveness. According to Curry, this wasn't an isolated confrontation but part of a broader pattern, one that paints a picture of a man who tightly controls and micromanages those around him, especially anyone within his inner circle.
Carry yourself like a grown man. He doesn't carry himself like a friend, you know?
So you're not surprised when you hear Cassie say that, Diddy, he used to hit her and she had to cover up her bruises with makeup. You're not surprised when you hear that. Because I interviewed Gene Deal and he wasn't around Bad Boy when Cassie was around, but he told me that, he did the same thing to Kim Porter.
Or you could take it before then, and then you can remember when Misa was dating, Eric Sermon from EPMD? And that was her childhood boyfriend, like coming up. They was the, lovey-dovey couple. And it was back then. He used to, do that with Misa. So, one thing I always say is, as a man and as anyone in a relationship, we often go through these kind of things. So I've seen it in friends. I've seen it in him. I've seen fights. I've seen all kinds. I've seen fights where he have an argument, fight with a female, whatever it may be. I've seen it with my own friends. But sometimes you say, we all go through things, but once you have a sign of doing it over and over and over again, that's when it becomes a problem. You be like, so every relationship that you get in, you're violent in them. So you say, I don't have to wait to see what he would, I was around when Cassie was there. I knew Kim Porter before I knew Puff. I met Misa, but it was a history. When you have a history of the same thing, man, it becomes a problem. Something you do once or twice, you get over. First, you're not supposed to put your hands on a woman's way I was raised. And the only person that really put their hands on women really is men who have feminine traits. So, it really takes a coward to put his hands on a woman. So, a man is so strong enough, we can just walk away. You can do, it's so many different things that you can do other than get upset, put your hands on a woman. But that comes from a man who's not quite a grown man. It's still a boy, like a bad boy.
And speaking of Kim Porter, because you knew Kim Porter, is it true that Diddy broke her nose?
Bust her nose, man. But It was all,